All chaos is erupting as Donald Trump's ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are now targeting Midas Touch. The Midas Touch network released footage of the ICE Border Patrol Gestapo violently assaulting a United States citizen that was captured on camera. David Byer was the first to share it. It happened in Minnesota. And then the IC and Border Patrol Gestapo, through the Department of Homeland Security, immediately reacted and went after Midas Touch for simply showing video of the objective events that just occurred in Minnesota. We posted on our account, "Watch these thugs. This isn't law enforcement. These are criminals." And we were amplifying David Byer's post about how the Department of Homeland Security agent, unclear if it's Border Patrol or IC since they all wear masks, but they're all Gestapo and SS. They're in Minnesota. They swerved in front of an unarmed woman who was filming them. And once again, they stepped in front of the car with their weapons drawn and threatened to kill the woman who was observing their behavior. That's why she was there. She was an IC and Border Patrol observer. The only thing they learned from the Renee Good and the Alex Pretty killings is how to get away with taking lies. A local officer had to step in to stop the unlawful detention. So, first let me show you this footage, and then I'll show you what the Department of Homeland Security said, I believe, to try to intimidate us. Here, play this clip. I think someone needs to dial 911. They're seriously attacking me. We'll call 911 right now. What's your location? Call 911. I'm right at the corner of Jefferson. Get out of the car right now. No, no, I will not get out of the car. I will not get out of the car right now. No, get out of the car. No, I will not get out of the car. You guys, I need CEOs here now. No, I will not get out of the car. You get your hands off of me. Get your __ hands off me. Get your hands off me. I am not doing __. I am observing. I have not done anything. This is my constitutional right. We're calling 911 right now. I am not. You cannot arrest me. I'm observing. You can't arrest me. I'm observing. You cannot. I am not taking a video too. Get off of me. Get off of me. Don't do that. __. Someone call the MP or someone call the police. Somebody help them. Call the police. Call the police. Call them now. Call them now. Call them now. They're calling 911. They're calling 911. They're calling 911 right now. So then the disturbing video, right? Then the Department of Homeland Security responded to us directly, and here's what they told us. As the Department of Homeland Security Gov Law Enforcement, they were carrying out a targeted operation to apprehend a repeat criminal illegal alien whose record includes multiple arrests for assault, domestic abuse, and driving under the influence. An agitator began following and interfering with law enforcement. Just stop there for a second. This is their routine. This is what they always claim. They say they're out here catching the predators. They say they're out here grabbing the violent criminals. But then when they're actually confronted, it turns out they're not doing that at all. That only a very small portion of the people they pursue are actually offenders. We all agree that criminals need to be held accountable to the full extent of the law, deported, prosecuted, whatever. That's not what these SS, these paramilitary, Border Patrol, and IC enforcers are doing. Then they use terms like following, obstructing. You mean the First Amendment right to watch you? We all have that right under the Constitution, and this idea of secret police in masks, and your local law enforcement doesn't do that. Anyway, let's go through DHS's statement to Midas Touch. Law enforcement officers attempted to pull her over using their emergency lights to issue her a warning. Ignoring law enforcement directions, the agitator refused to stop and began driving dangerously, including running stop signs, nearly crashing into several vehicles and driving straight toward officers in an effort to ram their vehicle. See what they're doing right here? They're building another pretext that she's a domestic terrorist. She's the villain. Don't trust your own eyes, which you saw on the video. Trust Kristi Noem. Her behavior endangered officers, the public, and allowed this violent criminal to stay at large. So you're saying it was her fault. I understand. She caused it. No, you all are a group of sociopaths, and you lie the way habitual liars lie. It's obvious. It's childish in nature. Then it goes on to say, our officers arrested the agitator. Interfering with law enforcement is a felony and a federal offense. Why are you getting into our messages? Why do you think you need to spread propaganda in replies to the Midas Touch account? We see what we see on the video. So stop your spin. You are not welcome in the Midas Touch network accounts where we're out here trying to tell the truth. Speaking of telling the truth, we're out here in Los Angeles. That's where we're based, but we have journalists across the nation, and shout out to our friends at Status Quo who are in Minneapolis still, and they're filming the peaceful protest there, and they're still documenting what's happening. That first video wasn't from Status Quo, but that took place very recently after Greg Bavino when Donald Trump said, "Oh, it's a tone change." And the media was like, they're changing tone. No, they aren't. Let me show you what just happened in El Monte, California. I want to show you Maria Sante. She's a hero. She's a well-known legal observer. She shows up to help the migrant community, and she was targeted by the IC and Border Patrol Gestapo who aimed weapons at her. They smashed through her window. They forced their way into her car simply because she was watching them. Watch what happens here. Let's play this clip. Guys, I'm getting out. Okay. Guys, my keys are in the car. Please, oh, they already broke. They broke my window. They're breaking my window, guys. I'm a US citizen. It's insane. Insane. This guy's breaking my window, guys. They're going to try. I was unlocking the door, guys. My phone's under here. And I want to show you what's happening in the rest of the country over the past day or so. So even though we focused a lot on what was happening in a Minneapolis or St. Paul or Chicago, ICE is engaged in this behavior nationwide right now. So here's a report. This right here is on Stonebridge Road and Cedar Creek Road in the North Midland neighborhood in Texas. 9 people, 9 migrants who were roofers. They were working on building fairly large homes in this North Midland area. And the IC and Border Patrol Gestapo partnered with the fire department and the local sheriff's office because in Texas, in these right-wing towns and cities and state, they assist IC and Border Patrol in targeting their own workers. So what I want to show you here is you'll see the IC and firefighters pursuing roofers who are literally on the roof working on homes, trying to build houses right now in this country. That's who you're going after. So, Department of Homeland Security, when you get into our messages and you say, oh, we're pursuing the most violent. You're going after roofers who are out there working and doing jobs that these construction companies aren't able to fill. These people should be praised and paid more, not dragged off the roofs. Here, play this clip. We are here and some people are being witnesses to what is going on. We can tell that some of them are genuinely concerned for their safety. As we said earlier, we spoke with a few neighbors, and they did say that they believed this to be a medical emergency, and then they saw HSI. They saw people wearing green uniforms. We do know that they were attempting to pepper spray a few of them. Like we've mentioned before, the Midland Fire Department is present. Midland County Sheriff's Office is also on scene. Earlier, we did see people with an HSI badge and police IC logo on the back of their jacket. There are multiple witnesses to this. This is happening in a neighborhood in Midland. It is on Stonebridge Drive and Porterfield Road. We have been here for about an hour. As we are seeing, they were trying to run and attempt to catch them. And then we'll move from Minneapolis, Los Angeles, El Monte, and let's go to Utah. This is happening everywhere. Trump's enforcers forced their way into a locked auto body shop without a warrant in Utah. And then the shop owner says, "You just broke into my business. Like, this is my place. You didn't show me a warrant." And Trump's enforcers, his Border Patrol Gestapo, say, "We don't need to show you anything. We don't need to do anything at all. Here, play this clip. Look at this. Look at these. Where's your guys' warrant? Stay back. Where's your guys' warrant? Stay back. No. Where's your warrant? Where's the warrant? Stand right there. You where's the warrant? I don't need one. Yes, you do. Where's the warrant? You guys step back. I need you to wrap that up for what? Stay back. Stop moving closer to me. Stay back there. I'm back. I'm back. I'm going to do to you. I'm back. You guys have to leave. My lawyer is coming. Good. You guys want to get sued? Are you done? What's your badge number? Back. No, I want to get you guys that one. All right. This kill you inside your stuff. Yes, you guys aren't supposed to be back here. Stand back here. You can record, but I'm already back here. You guys haven't shown me. You guys haven't identified yourselves. I don't know who you guys are. What is that? What the is that? Federal agent. I need a warrant. I need a warrant. You do not need a warrant. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know how you guys came in illegally? No, you guys broke the window. Yes, we did. Because you guys don't have a warrant. We don't need one. Yes, you do. Stay back here. Hey, what the I ain't doing? I'm making sure he's safe. Excuse you. I need to leave it. Meanwhile, you had Greg Bavino celebrating in Las Vegas. Here he is in Las Vegas at the clubs while Border Patrol continued to terrorize people in this country. Also, the New York Times reporting how the Border Patrol leader Greg Bavino mocked the Jewish faith of a U.S. attorney in Minnesota during a call with lawyers, according to several people familiar with the conversation. Shout out to some of the celebrities now who are calling out ICE and Border Patrol terror. I showed you Bruce Springsteen before, Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, Becky G with her FISA fingernails. You even had a Garcia, the boxer, Ryan Garcia, say that he said that he's recanting his he said reclining, but he meant recanting. Any support that he gave to Donald Trump after the Epstein files were released and Trump's name appeared in the Epstein files over 5,000 times in some of the most despicable ways along with a network of Trump regime officials. Howard Lutnick's name appeared. Elon Musk's name appeared. The new person that Trump appointed, Kevin Walsh, to the Federal Reserve chair, his name appeared. And look, when we're talking about ICE terror, too, I think it's important to note, as I said, this is still happening every day in cities and towns across the nation. So, stop with the new tone nonsense. So, I want to bring in Marn Von Wilpert. She's a San Diego City Council member because San Diego is still under pressure. Every day in San Diego, ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are frightening people there. And Marn has been pushing back with the city council, and she's also running for Congress from California's 48th congressional district against Darrell Issa. It's a competitive primary with many Democratic candidates who are running. Marn, San Diego City Council. She believes that she flipped a red seat to become that city council member. Let's bring in Marn. Here's the interview I just did with Marn. And so, while Greg Bavino is leaving Minneapolis and St. Paul, he's now heading, unfortunately, to San Diego. And the San Diego community has already been frightened by Bavino's enforcers and the ICE Border Patrol enforcers and Gestapo before. We've covered here last year restaurants being raided and neighborhoods being frightened. And now Bavino is back. I want to talk to a San Diego City Council member, Marn Von Wilpert, who's also running for Congress against a MAGA Republican candidate, Darrell Issa, in the newly redrawn California's 48th district. It's an important district redrawn after Prop 50. And this is one of the areas that Democrats need and many people believe Democrats will win. It's unclear what ICE is going to do. He's avoiding all the members of the press when they try to ask him questions on Capitol Hill. Marn, let's talk first about Bavino, and we'll talk about the race. But Bavino is coming into your city. You're a city council member. Previously, you were a deputy city attorney there. You were a prosecutor in the city, and before that, a labor attorney as well. But talk to us. How are you getting ready for this, and what are you doing to push back? Yeah, so we have been sounding all the alarms. Here in the city of San Diego, we do not need to see what's happening, the disorder and fear on the streets of Minneapolis. And Bavino is returning to Southern California. I've called on President Trump to dismiss Bavino, not to give him another role where he can cause more damage to our communities. I've also called on Donald Trump to fire Kristi Noem. She needs to go. She has failed and neglected her duty to keep America safe. And we're getting ready here in San Diego County. So, I'm leading a vote on Monday at the San Diego City Council to join a lawsuit with Minneapolis against ICE and Donald Trump. We too have seen disruptive ICE actions here in San Diego, where I see officers walk into the middle of a crowded restaurant on a weekend in full riot gear. And of course, it creates chaos and fear just so they can arrest the kitchen staff. So, is that what's happening now? One of the things, we're seeing all these, it's we have to keep track of everything. So, because also, authoritarian power spreads in silence. Like right now, are we seeing like on any given weekend, is ICE still going into restaurants and frightening people? Maybe not with the images we're seeing in Minneapolis, but is that happening now? Oh yeah, it happens all the time here in San Diego. And we are doing everything we can to resist. We've also passed a due process ordinance requiring any federal agent to have a warrant, a judicial warrant, not one signed by their own officers, to come onto any city-owned property. We have Know Your Rights trainings happening. But, I'm running for Congress because this race is about the future of our democracy. This is one of the top 5 seats in the nation we must win to regain control of the House. And we have to hold Donald Trump accountable. We have to restore Congress as a co-equal branch of government that stands up for the Constitution and the American people. I've been a San Diego City Council member here for 5 years now. We're the 8th largest city in the country. So it's a big city that I help govern. And just like I've been here, I've been an advocate for working families. I started the first teacher down payment assistance program so that teachers, public school teachers, could afford to purchase homes in the communities where they teach. I wrote the first law in the nation requiring grocery stores to not force senior citizens to download an app and search for digital coupons just to get discounts on the food they buy. So, I'm doing everything I can to reduce the cost of living, make the economy work for all of us. Donald Trump and Darrell Issa are driving up our costs with this tariff war that's raising the price of everything. And Darrell Issa just voted again to increase the cost of healthcare by refusing to join Republicans to restore the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. So I'm going to go to Congress and fight back and make sure I'm an advocate for working people across this country. One of the things that's really impressive about your background, among many things, is you turned a very, very right-wing city council district blue that nobody thought was possible. Well, you and I were joking before we went on. I said, so you were the city prosecutor. You were a successful labor attorney. Then you decided to jump into this. But it's important to note you didn't just jump into any city council seat. I mean, that city council seat was about as right-wing as it gets, and you flipped that one. So talk to us about that, because I think the lessons there may apply now and may apply across the nation right now about how you did that and how to push back against this disinformation engine where they, lie to the public all the time and convince some people to vote against their own interests. Yeah, then I grew up in this district. My parents still live in the home I grew up in. And I knew it was deep red because my parents only had Republicans representing them my entire life. But the first time Donald Trump was elected, I left my job in the Obama administration and I flew back to San Diego. I was a labor lawyer defending workers' rights and women's rights to equal pay across this country. And I said, we can do better. Let's get more women in office. And so I did. And I ran for the city council seat. And when I won it, people told me, you'll never be effective because to stay in office in a purple district, you can't be bold. And I said, watch me. The first law I ever passed when I was elected was the first law in California banning the sale of untraceable ghost guns and the parts of guns people were buying and assembling at home and using in crimes. We had a tragic mass shooting in San Diego in April of 2021. And when I learned the shooter used a ghost gun, I wrote the first law in the nation in California to ban it immediately. Then within 10 minutes, I was sued. I was sued by the NRA. They came after me in federal court, and I was 6 months into my first term in office facing a federal lawsuit on my own. And I honestly thought about quitting. But then I received an email from a father who wrote to me and said, Marn, I need to tell you what happened to my son. And he sent me a selfie of himself standing in front of his 12-year-old son's grave. And I could see the grave was fresh because the flowers were still blooming and the candles were still burning. And he said, Marn, my 12-year-old son, Max, was shot and killed by a ghost gun 2 weeks ago. And I'm writing to you because you're the only politician doing anything about it. And so we did. We took Max's story in that email, and I called the city attorney. I said, let's go to court. And we did. And we won. We defeated the NRA. The federal court upheld my law. And then San Francisco passed my ghost gun law. LA passed the law. Oakland, the state of California, has now taken action. And so I've been able to make progress on issues like gun violence prevention, which has been so difficult. And the way I did it then in my purple district is I brought people into the conversation. I had moms demand action at my press conferences. I had high school students who were tired of active shooter drills. And I had uniformed police officers because they also don't like being shot on the street by illegal guns. And so when people saw uniform officers alongside high school students and the moms groups, they said, wait a minute, this is something we all agree on. And I did. And guess what? I won my re-election with no challenger for my second term. So that is how you lead in a purple district. You are bold. You bring solutions, but you also bring people along. I am sick and tired of Donald Trump and Darrell Issa dividing this country. Everyone wants their children to be safe at school and sitting at their desks learning, not hiding under their desks from gunfire. Yeah, and I think people like fighters, and they want fighters right now. And sometimes people think, well, the way you deal with a purple district is you have to compromise on everything, which some compromise is necessary in government, but you can't compromise on certain values and principles. That's what I believe. And so when there are IC and Border Patrol mass Gestapo and like a paramilitary force that are rolling into cities like San Diego, Minneapolis, LA, Portland, Chicago, and terrorizing people, I just don't think there's okay, here's what we're going to do to negotiate with them. I mean, it's get out of our city right now and remove this leadership and get rid of them. It's, there are things like that where people want to know you're standing up for them. And I think what Trump convinced people of through deception was that he was going to do all of these things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that on day one. And on day one, you're going to get this. And he didn't. On Friday, a report shows that core inflation, rose to 3% above expectations. Another government shutdown. People's health care cut, and people are saying we want fighters. So you're going to be their fighter. Talk to us about that as you run now for Congress. What's the battle ahead? Yeah, so the battle is through this seat. California did redistricting when Texas tried to change their districts to drown out Democratic voices. California stood up and fought back. And one of the things we did was adjust this specific district, Congressional District 48, to make Darrell Issa, who just nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize again, make him run scared. Darrell Issa has never run a difficult race in his life. He runs away when he sees competition. We're calling him Dallas Darrell since he tried to flee to Texas when he saw how hard it would be to face me in this race. But I have fought for my community my entire life. As a deputy city attorney, I took on some of the toughest fights against major corporations that are harming the American experience. I sued the opioid industry for the damage and addiction they've inflicted on our communities. And I secured $40 million back to San Diego to get addiction treatment into our emergency rooms. So if people survive an overdose and wake up in that ER bed, they have someone right there to hold their hand and guide them into treatment. And guess what, Ben? It's working. We haven't seen a repeat overdose at the 3 hospitals we launched this program with. I also took on environmental polluters. I sued Monsanto for contaminating the San Diego Bay, and we won $50 million to make them clean up our bay. I know how to take on big battles, and I'll know how to hold Donald Trump accountable when I get to Congress. But we also need to remember what truly keeps us safe. I'm the chair of public safety, and we see Darrell Issa and Donald Trump causing chaos in Minneapolis. That's not public safety. That is not law enforcement. Our communities are safe when we live by our shared American values of respect for our neighbors and life and liberty and dignity and fairness under the law. Our communities are safe when we honor the Constitution and due process and the rule of law. So I am running to fight back against ICE's brutal tactics and actually rein them in. I am outraged that Republicans in Congress have approved everything Donald Trump has done, including Darrell Issa, and they won't even pass a funding bill to rein in ISIS harmful conduct right now. We need better people in Congress. I'm going to win this race, challenge Donald Trump, and take our country back. Where can people learn more about the campaign, Marn? Go to my website. It's Marn von Wilpert. MarnevonWilpert.com. You know, my last name comes from my father. He's an immigrant to this country. My father was not born here. And when he came, he enlisted to serve our nation in the United States Army. And now that he's older, we're relying on the Veterans Administration, the VA, to help care for him in his later years. And this is what the American dream is about. You know, you can come to this country, build an incredible life, and then we take care of our veterans. This is the core of the American values I want to see back in our communities. This is not the America I grew up in. You know, I'm a young LGBTQ woman. I just got engaged, Ben, to my girlfriend 3 weeks ago. Congratulations. We should have led with that. Yeah, so we just got engaged and we're fighting to make sure that we can still get married in this country. You know, Roe v. Wade was already overturned, and I've lost my right as a young woman to reproductive health care in many states in this nation. I'm terrified of losing my right to marry the woman I love. So I'm fighting for our freedoms and fighting to make America a place where equal protection and dignity means something again, and fighting to make respect and dignity the values of our government again. Marn von Wilpert, City Council, San Diego, running for 48th Congressional District in California. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for having me. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MidasPlus.com.